Students, we are going to jump into multi-step equations. We learned how to solve on one side, and now we are going to solve on both sides this week. And then we'll jump into solving rational equations. So this will be our last set, and then we're going to jump right back into our book the following week to learn how to solve equations on a linear scale. So the first thing we do is make sure you open up your Jamboard that is posted in your Google Classroom. The first thing we're going to do is open up our writing tool, and we are going to go through our lesson. First thing we do when we solve multi-step equations for variables on both sides is we simplify each equation if needed. That means we need to maybe distribute. We might need to combine our terms. Next thing we're going to do is use inverse operations to move our variables to one side. So if we're adding, we're subtracting as our inverse. If we are dividing, we are multiplying as our inverse, and vice versa. Then we're going to solve the remaining equation, and then we check and make sure that our solution is correct. So let's do a couple of examples. We can there it is. Okay. So we can start off with 8x plus 17, and then 2x equals 2x plus 35. Notice how you see an x on this side of the equation, and then remember when we draw our equal sign, it divides our other set of equation in half. So I have x's on both sides. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify. I'm going to get my variables all on one side. So in order to get my variables on one side, I have my 8x over here, I have my 2x here. I'm going to simplify each side by using the inverse operation. I'm going to take my 2x and I'm going to bring it to this side of the equal sign. In order to do that, I'm going to subtract 2x on one side. That gives me 6x on this side left over, and bringing down my 17, bringing down my equal sign, canceling out my 2x, and leaving me with 35, positive 35 left over. Now I'm going to solve because my variable is now on one side. The first thing I do is I get my variable x alone. In order to do that, I work with the factor that's farthest away from that x, that's 17. The opposite of adding 17 is subtracting 17 on both sides. That leaves me with a canceled 17 on this side, and bringing down my 6x, I'm going to rewrite my problem, equals, bringing down my 35, minus 17, that gives me 18. Then I'm going to divide my 6 to get my x alone on this side, and then divide by 6 on this side. That leaves me with 6x divided by 6 gives me 1, so that leaves me with my x alone. I bring down my equal sign, and 18 divided by 6 gives me 3. X equals 3. Let's try number 2 together. We have 7k plus 8 equals 2k minus 37. Again, there's a variable on this side of the equal sign, and there's a variable on this side of the equal sign. That means that I have to make sure that my variables are all on one side. Usually what we want to try to do is take the smaller variable, the variable with the smaller number connected, because it's easier to subtract that way, and we'll end up with close to a positive number if we have that chance. So the next thing we do is we're going to bring that 2k from the right of our equal sign over to the left of our equal sign. And then we're going to subtract that 2k. That gives me 5k. Bring down the remainder of my equation. And that equal sign leaves me with 37 on one side. Then we solve just like we do with all of our other problems. Subtract 8 leaves me with 5k equals 37. Negative 37 minus 8 is negative 45. Divide by 5 on both sides to get rid of that 5 on one side. And then that leaves us with k on this side equals negative 9. Let's try number 3. Again, I have m plus 3 equals, remember that's the other side of the equation, we got to keep it balanced, 9m minus 13. Again, what I want to do is I want to get rid of one variable on one side. If they're similar variables like our m's here, that means that we can move it all to one side if they're similar variables. So I'm moving my 1m over to the right side this time. Like I said, you want to take the number with a smaller variable and bring it over to the other side. We'll keep it easy. That leaves me with 3 equals 9 minus m is 8m minus 13. Then I solve. For m. M equals, oops, we add 13. So that actually leaves me with 16 divided by 8. M equals 2. Let's try number 4. We have negative 4y plus 6 equals negative 3y plus 12. Again, I'm going to take my factor with the higher absolute value and keep it there, and I'm going to move the smaller absolute value over to the other side. So here, with my negative 4y, I am going to subtract 3. I'm going to add 3y since I am subtracting 3y over here, and I'm bringing it over here. That leaves me with 6 on this side and negative y, or I can say 1y. The 1 is invisible because of the identity property. And that leaves me with 12 on the side. And then I solve. Get my y alone. Subtract 6 on this side. Gives me with negative y equals 12 minus 6. Oh no, there's a negative y over here. What do we do? We're going to divide, because there's a negative 1 here. I'm going to divide by negative 1. divided by -1. So my y is alone, and that equals 6 with a negative in front of it. We could do it either or, and we would still get the same answer. Let's do number 5. 6a plus 40 equals 2a. Again, I want to get my variables all on one side. Since there is only one variable over here with no other factors, I'm going to move my 6a over here this time. So in these problems, you can solve either or. You can do it this way or this way. As long as you get one variable to the other side, it doesn't matter which one you choose. You should still get the same answer. Over here, I'm going to subtract 6a. That leaves me with 40 equals -4a. Divide by -4 on both sides. To solve, a equals -10. Number 6, I have 5w minus 29 equals 55 minus 2w. I'm going to choose to bring my 2w over the side of my equal sign. So I'm going to add 2w and add 2w. This side cancels out. This side has a 7w now, minus 29. I bring down the rest of my numbers, bring down my equal sign, bring down my 55. Then I solve. I'm going to bring my 29 to the other side, so I'm going to add 29 on both sides. That leaves me with 7w equals 84. Then I'm going to divide by 7 on both sides to get rid of my 7. That leaves me with w equals 84 divided by 7 is 12. Let's work on number 7. Oftentimes it gets a little bit confusing because I don't know which side to pick. So what I want to do is make sure that I just pick a side. Doesn't matter where you start. So I have 5p minus 11 equals 13p minus 43. I'm going to start off by subtracting 5p on this side. Subtracting 5p on this side. You can also subtract 13p. I'm just choosing to do 5p first. That leaves me with -11 equals 8p equals 43. Then I add 43 on both sides to get my variable alone. Oops. 8p should equal, there we go. 8p equals 32. Then I divide by 8. P equals 4. With -50 minus c equals 5c minus 2, I'm going to take away this c on this side. So I'm going to do the inverse operation and add. That leaves me with 50, leaves me with my equal sign. 5c plus another c gives me 6c minus 2. And then I solve. Add 2, 48. Don't forget that negative sign. Your integers are very important when we're solving equations. And divide by 6. C equals 8. And number 9, we have negative 5x plus 16 plus 3x equals negative 23 minus 9x. Oh no, we've got more variables on one side and the other side. First thing you do is combine like terms. Don't forget. It's going to be okay. So that leaves me with 5x and 3x on this side. If I combine it, it's going to be negative 2x minus 16. I'm going to rewrite my problem so I don't get confused. And that leaves me with one variable on one side, on both sides. So now that I've combined them, I'm going to take away my 9x on this side by adding 9x. That leaves me with 7x, because it's positive, minus 16 equals negative 23. Then I add 16. That leaves me with a 7x on this side, and negative 23 plus 16 is negative 7. Divide those by 7, and I have x minus 1. 6r minus 5 plus 1 plus 8r minus 24. Notice how on this side now I have two constants. So I'm going to combine those constants and rewrite my problem. 6r minus 5 plus 1 plus negative 24 gives me negative 23. Plus 8r. I'm going to subtract 6r on this side and solve. Leaves me with negative 5 on this side of the equal sign and 2r minus 23. I'm just rearranging my numbers. Then I add 23 on both sides. That leaves me with 18 equals 2r. I'm going to get rid of that 2 by dividing by 2 on both sides. R is left to equal 9. Number 11, we have 9a minus 7a equals 3a minus 33 plus 2a. There's a lot of a's here, so I'm going to combine like terms. On this side, I have 2a, 9 minus 7 equals 2, and then I hang on to my a. On this side, I have 5a, because 3a plus 2a equals 5a. And then I bring down my constant, minus 33. Now I solve. I'm going to subtract 5a. That leaves me with negative 3a equals negative 33. And I'm going to divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3. A negative divided by a negative equals a positive. Gives me a equals 11. And number 12, combine like terms. Negative 25 plus 7m. I'm bringing together my negative 5 and my negative 20 equals 20m minus 2m. Then I'm going to add 2m to get rid of this negative 2m over here on both sides. Anytime you can stay positive, try to stay positive. 7 plus 2 equals 9m. Bring down my 25. That's negative. Equals 2m. Oops. Equals 20. Shouldn't be an m there. Then I have 9m because I'm adding 25 and adding 25 equals 20 plus 25 is 45. Then I divide by 9 on this side to get rid of my 9. So I divide on the other side to make it equal. 45 divided by 9 is 5. M equals 5. And on 13, I have parentheses. So now I have to distribute on each side. That means that my 4 goes to this k. 4 also goes to this minus 2. And then on this side, I have to distribute 2 to this k and 2 to this 9 first. We have to undo our parentheses, unwrap that present. So 4 times k gives me 4k. 4 times negative 2 gives me negative 8. Equals 2 times k gives me 2k. 2 times minus 9 gives me negative 18. And now I solve. I'm going to subtract 2k. Subtract 2k. Leaves me with negative 8 equals 4k. Oops. 2k. Minus 8 equals negative 18. I add 8. I add 8. Negative 10 equals 2k. I divide by 2 to get k alone. Divide by 2. K equals negative 5. Number 14, same goes here. I'm going to distribute this negative 6 to n as well as minus 3. I'm going to distribute this 5 to this 4 as well as this minus n. Undo and get rid of those parentheses. So negative 6 times n gives me negative 6n. Negative 6 times negative 3 equals negative 18 equals 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times minus n is negative 5n. Now I'm going to add 6 on both sides. 6n. That gives me 18. Whoops. That's a positive 18. Equals 20 plus 1n, or n for short. Then I subtract 20 to get n alone. N equals negative 2. Distribute my next problem, number 15. Negative 8p minus a positive and a negative when multiplied is a negative. And then I bring down this p. It's not a part of the parentheses, so I just bring it down. And then on the other side of my equal sign, 4 times p is 4p. 4 times 3 is positive 12. And then I bring down that 5. Now I'm going to combine like terms on both sides to simplify. So negative 8p is actually negative 7p minus 16 equals 4p plus 17. Now I'm going to add 7. That leaves me with negative 16 equals 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 p plus 17. Now I'm going to subtract. Negative 16 minus 17 brings me even deeper into the negatives. That's negative 33 equals 11p. That's what's left. Then I get rid of that 11 by dividing by 11 on both sides. Keep it balanced. Negative 33 divided by 11 gives me negative 3. And with number 16, we've got a fraction. Just like any other problem, we're going to distribute it to both the 12v and the negative 20. Not the plus 4, though, because it's not in these parentheses. We only distribute what's in these parentheses. So negative 1/2, that means half of 12 gives me negative 6v. Half of negative 20 is 10, but since there's a negative sign here and a negative sign here, I'm going to change it into a positive because a negative times a negative is a positive. And then bring down that 4. Positive 10 plus 4 equals, bring down my other side, there's no parentheses there. And now I combine like terms. Negative 6v plus 10 plus 4 is 14 equals negative 12 minus 8v. And then I add 8v on both sides to get rid of my variable on one side. That leaves me with positive 2v plus 14 equals negative 12. Then I get rid of my 14. Negative subtracting a negative is a positive, so that's positive 26. Sorry, a negative 26. And 2v. Then I divide by 2. And that leaves me with v over here equals negative 26 divided by 2 is negative 13. This week, we're going to continue to practice our equations, and then we're going to wrap it up at the end on Friday with special cases. Go ahead and work on your iReady, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.